Wish it could have been a Jet, Fernando.
We'll see what happens.
Live from Radio Row in Indianapolis, it's Combine time as teams look for their next superstar. Some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment will be right here. Get ready for the 2026 draft, baby. It's the Jake Asman Show.
Live from Radio Row here at the NFL Scouting Combine inside the Indiana Convention Center. We're back, and we're joined by ESPN NFL insider, longtime reporter. Used to cover the Yankees. I was reading his work at the Star Ledger years ago.
Lifetime. That's cool. You got Aaron Glenn to do that for you.
Very nice of him to shout out the Asmaniac community. Dan Graziano is our guest. What's Combine like for you? What are some of the big things you look forward to every year?
I just, running into anyone and everyone in the league. That's why I come. Like, it is. Like, I don't stay for the weekend and the workouts. Like, I'm here. Yesterday I had meetings set up with, like 9 GMs and a couple head coaches, and I got a few more like that today, and just and then just walking the hallways and running into people, that I know from past years, or I'm here to meet people in new jobs, and then of course there's the evening activities where you hang out in the bars and get the really, really good stuff.
Yeah, you got to balance the, I got to be up early for these 8 a.m. prospect interviews and also try to make sure you get some good nuggets. Can you take us inside? Because I think my audience would find this interesting from like a reporting standpoint. How do you build up over the course of a career sources that you can trust? Like, how do you know that, hey, someone's not just telling you something just so you could put it out there and maybe try and change a narrative or kind of keep people looking in a different direction when the team is actually trying to make sure that people don't know they're actually thinking about doing this?
First of all, you don't that is the case most of the time, and it's important to be able to identify, like, why is this guy's not telling me this because I'm a good friend of his, right? It's because I can do him and or his client some good. So you balance it, you run it by somebody else. Hey, is this true? Is this the way you view this as well, or am I getting a one-sided story? And then you just kind of have to figure out sort of where the truth probably lies, or ideally lies. And then put it out there responsibly. You do. I mean, look, there's plenty of race to get it first where you can tell it's just one source stuff and it's one person's point of view, and you kind of wish that somebody had made a second call. I try to be the kind of guy that does that. And but over to the big picture question, building up sources over time, it's just building trust. Like, these relationships, talk about Combine. Like, there are people that I call or text all year, and this week's the only time I ever see them in person. And so you have to maintain that relationship. It's much easier to get a call back from somebody who knows who you are, who's met you, who's had, a beer or a burger with you in Indianapolis. So, and then it's like, look, hey, I'm working on this story. Can you help me out? And they know that they can trust me with information and how to present it. Not necessarily like I'm going to do it the way they want, but they know I'm going to be fair about it. They know, like, they can tell me something and, I'm not going to just report it in a way that comes back to burn them. Right. So it's just really time, honestly. Like, when you start doing this, I switched from baseball to football after 14 years and had to build an entirely new network of sources in a different sport. And it takes, like, the first year was frustrating. The second year was frustrating. By the third, fourth year of doing it, you start to, okay, well, here's where I can kind of make some inroads, and you just kind of work on maintaining that over time.
And then going from someone who was covering, the NFC East, you were covering the Giants, of course, a lot of Giants fans knew you well from that, to then covering the whole league. What is the scope of work? What are some of the biggest differences from a specific team or a specific division to now kind of covering the entire league? Yeah,
I mean, it's more about locking in on what you're pursuing. Like, I'm not going to get every, I'm not going to be like, what am I working on this offseason? Are there 2 or 3 or 10 or 12 situations that I'm watching particularly closely that I can kind of feel like, I can take some level of ownership of that story as it moves forward. The TV work I do on Get Up or NFL Live directs some of it too. Maybe I'll expend more of my energy on one particular story, one particular team, if I know we're talking about that team the next day or throughout the week. So, covering the Giants, covering the NFC East, you went to those games, you went to those training camps, you met people with other teams, scouts that come through the press box, a GM or an assistant GM here and there. And you just try and maintain that network, because in this league, the guy that works for the Giants is going to be working for somebody else in 2 years. And now you have maybe a source on that team. So, again, just time and building it out and making sure that, get in front of the right people.
So when I watch you on Get Up, oftentimes you got Greeny, of course, hosting the show.
Mm-hmm.
You got Kimberly Martin, who's on, and she used to cover the Jets for Newsday. Damian Woody, former Jet, good friend of the show. Obviously, Bart Scott, who I work with all the time at ESPN New York.
Rex Ryan.
Yeah. I do a Sunday show for 4 hours every week with Mike Tannenbaum. Are you sick of the – yeah, Mike was making the rounds.
Yeah.
Are you sick of the Jet presence that you have to deal in?
You're saying we're a little Jet heavy there? Do you think that's because of the host? I think maybe he directs some of that? I don't know. Yeah, it's funny because when I did start covering the NFL, it was right around the time that Rex Ryan was taking the Jets to the AFC Championship game a couple years in a row. So living in New Jersey at the time, I would go to Jets and Giants because it was accessible, and I'm trying to get into these locker rooms and meet some people, just get a sense of what it's like to cover the league. And those Jets locker rooms, when Rex was there, were unbelievable. And I always tell Damian Woody and Bart Scott, they don't even remember this, but like those were two of the guys that helped like teach me a lot about the NFL and like going and like just being able to go to their lockers and say like, hey, I'm new at this, so some of these questions are going to be maybe a little rudimentary. But they were two of the most helpful people. I'm not surprised they're doing TV and radio. like I think they're very smart, and they come off as people that can educate. So I'm not surprised that those teams produced a good chunk of our roster, given what it was like to cover them.
Are you just in disbelief that the Jets playoff drought has been as long as those guys have been away?
Yeah, obviously it's not. I mean. Yes, obviously, you see so much turnover in the standings every single year. Even the Giants, as bad as it's been for them, they'll pop the occasional 11-win season.
Right. Even the Browns, people are like, the Browns.
Right.
It's like they had two coach of the year seasons where they made the playoffs with Kevin Stefanski.
They won a playoff game one. Yes. So, yes, it is surprising. It is unfortunate. It is tied to a large extent to their inability to find a solution at the quarterback position and stick with a plan for more than a couple of years. So, it's got to click one of these times. I don't know what they're going to do at quarterback this offseason. They don't know what they're going to do at quarterback this offseason. So they've got to get it right one of these years, or else it's just they're never going to be able to build anything sustainable. You might get a season where you win enough to get in the playoffs, but what you're looking for if you're the Jets is something that lasts.
So you just said the Jets don't know what they're going to do at quarterback. This is kind of the week where some of those rumblings start. Teams start talking with agents for potential players or trades with other teams.
Theoretically, that's illegal, but sometimes they have some mysterious way of finding out what the market is.
Of course, just magically contracts are agreed to in 5 minutes after the
combine's a magical place.
So, just from a Jet standpoint, what have you heard? Obviously, an enormous amount of pressure on the head coach going into year 2. He said yesterday that he's learned from his mistakes. It won't happen again. He even has a quote that is going to be memed everywhere if the Jets stink about his superpower being calling plays on defense, which is now going to happen. So just what have you heard?
Why didn't you do it last year then? So the Jets, I believe this is going to be their approach at quarterback. I think they do not think there's a slam dunk answer in the draft unless they could get to number 1, which they're not going to do.
And Darren Mucci, their GM yesterday, even said it's not going to happen.
Right. So I think they'll probably talk to and work out some of these guys that are late round prospects that maybe dropped because they had injuries at college, find out what's out there. But I think their focus will be free agency and what they can do there. So I think right now they have a sense of like what's possible. And in their minds, there are, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different tracks. If we get this guy at quarterback, this is what we should put around him. If we get this guy at quarterback. So I think they have a sense of who might be available. I don't think they have a sense of where they're going to land because I think they're open-minded about it, which is a good idea. So they also have a surprise. Justin Fields is on the roster. I was thinking that's an auto cut, but I think they don't feel compelled to because they don't have one of these contract situations where guaranteed money kicks in after a certain date. Like he's got $10 million guaranteed, whether he's on the team or not, and that number's not going up or down. So they can wait. They can keep him around as a fallback option.
They can wait till June 1st if they wanted to and save money on their cap if they want to wait and release him then, or just designate him as a June 1st cut.
Yeah, but again, like the dead money's not going to be bad because the contract was what it was, and they have to pay the salary anyway, or half the salary anyway. So I think they really feel like they have a lot of options. The question, of course, is can they land on the right one and then build it out around him? They they like the young receivers that they got in the middle of the season last year. They think there's potential there. They think there's potential with Mason Taylor. It sounds like they're going to bring Breece Hall back one way or the other. They like their offensive line, although, obviously you can never have too much of that. Wouldn't be surprised to see them use another high pick there. Those have been working out well for them. So, figure it out on defense, what the defense is going to look like, what personnel changes you need to make, and then find that quarterback because they feel like, there are some things about their roster that they like.
How can Aaron Glenn possibly get that third year if there's no clear path to a quarterback? And in today's NFL, barring a real outlier, like you're kind of capped around, maybe 7, maybe if all things are great, 8 wins. Like it's tough. Robert Saleh built the top 3 defense, and the inability to have a quarterback with the Jets, the best they ever did was 7 wins. They started 6-3 one year, and then unfortunately Mike White got hurt. That probably cost them a chance at the playoffs, but that's really it. They just have not had that quarterback play.
So what they win last year? 3, 4?
3 games.
Yeah. So 8, be pretty good.
I think he'd be back if that happens. But that's like on the high end,
so
right?
if you get to 6, 7, 8, and you feel like there's progress being made, hey, we might have something at quarterback with whoever. We feel like this team showed growth throughout the season. We feel like it responded well to Aaron Glenn, even if that didn't translate into wins. 6 of our losses were by 3 points or less, like those kinds of, these are hypothetical, but I mean, those are the kinds of things when you get to the end of the season, even if you haven't made the playoffs in Aaron Glenn's second year, ownership can feasibly say, all right, but there's reason to feel good about it. And I think that's, that it's hard to sort of put your finger on what that looks like, but those are the kinds of things that you'll be looking. You want to feel like the organization is moving in the right direction by the end of this year.
Anyone I've spoken to, whether it be here or Radio Row at the Super Bowl, I was down in Mobile talking to a bunch of just NFL people that were there scouting all the players. You talk about Aaron Glenn, and it's like, man, I don't know. It's a surprise he's still even employed. You talk about Darren Muji, though, you get a way different answer. Like people were really impressed by his scouting acumen, the extraction of value on some of the trades they made.
Picks for Sauce Gardner,
right? Yeah. And even just getting like a second and the better of the ones from Dallas between them and the Packers, like that was a smart deal. It feels like we might have a GM if you're a Jet fan, but like in your opinion, just talking with people, are they attached at the hip no matter what? Is there a path where Muji's here and Glenn's not if he can't turn it around?
Specific to the Jets, I can't say that I have like any internal information that would answer that. I think big picture, when you look at the league, you often see the GM have the ability to bring in more than one coach, right? The GM's tenure tends to last a little longer. Sometimes you see it. Well, no, actually, Atlanta, he was there longer than Raheem Morris was. They got fired together. So, I think Aaron Glenn is under pressure to perform. Like his first year was rocky. Like the press conferences were rocky. They didn't have an interception, for God's sake.
And he was a former great
cornerback. Like that must drive him insane. So he has to. I think you want to come out of this year feeling like that guy looks like the guy we thought we were hiring. And inside the building there are people that do feel that way. But I think you want to see. You want to see growth from a young head coach who's doing it for the first time too.
How about pick 2 in the draft? It feels like this is not like, the year Will Anderson was coming out and after the quarterback's best non-quarterback, or Abdul Carter, even last year, they could go in a lot of different directions at 2.
I think so. Or, trade back and add value if you move back a couple of spots.
Who's coming up? And you think there's a team that would?
Right. Because usually that's only for quarterbacks. So, you get the high impact guy there, whether it's on defense. I think it's probably defense for them at that point. And, they have some needs on that side of the ball. So get somebody who can rush the passer or be disruptive on defense and feel good about that. But I don't think you force quarterback there. And to your point, trading back sounds good, but unless somebody's coming up for a quarterback, it's hard to execute those trades.
Hey, give us your thoughts on the Giants now with Harbaugh and how quickly they could potentially turn things around.
Yeah, I mean, Harbaugh's a winner. The program will be rock solid. The question is health of the roster. Can you keep Andrew Thomas healthy? Is Malik Neighbors going to come back healthy? Is Cam Scatterbo going to come back healthy? Is Jackson Dart going to stay healthy? And then you need to add, I think, probably on the back end of the defense. But Harbaugh the organization will be competently run. Like you'll be able to see it. The question is, how quickly can they build a roster that can win games on the field?
Knowing what you know about John Mara and Woody Johnson and kind of that rivalry between the Jets and the Giants, say the Giants do turn it around and Harbaugh is right now the toast of the town. He's doing every media hit and obviously people are very excited in the Giant fan base. Do you believe, Dan, that say the Jets struggle and it doesn't work out with Glenn, Woody Johnson will see the success the Giants are having and finally be inclined to say, hey, enough is enough. I got to get a proven head coach who's done it at a high level before, like exactly what the Giants just did by hiring Harbaugh in the first place.
Maybe, but I mean, John Harbaugh's don't hit the market every offseason. So
Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott a year from now.
I get, absolutely. Those guys will be out there. Yes. So maybe, I mean, look, I don't know. I like Aaron Glenn. I hope he turns out to be a good head coach, like personally. And I think he's obviously got the talent to do it. I was a little surprised by some of the ways it wobbled his first year, especially considering he has experience in the market. So hopefully, he irons out those aspects of his game that need to be ironed out, and they find him a quarterback, and they don't have to answer those questions.
Do you think he'll change his approach with the media?
I hope so. I don't think that's I don't want to be a media member that sounds like he's overinflating his own importance, but I do think it matters, especially in that market. And I think, he's smart enough to know that.
Dan, we appreciate you hopping on. Let me end with this. What is your favorite restaurant in Indianapolis that you have to hit every year when you're at the Combine?
The answer 2 years ago was a Mexican place called Nada, but it closed. And so, it's like steakhouse on top of steakhouse on top of steak. The new steakhouse at the JW Marriott's pretty good, actually. But, yeah, I don't know. We had an Italian place last night, kind of off the beaten path, called Iario's, something like that. Really good, like red sauce.
I'm gonna look. I'm not trying to stereotype, but Dan Graziano recommending Italian. I feel like can't go wrong.
It didn't taste unlike what my grandmother would throw together on Sunday night when I was growing up. That's for sure. So yeah,
appreciate you hopping on. Great to catch up.
Take care.
Dan Graziano from ESPN, our guest.